Hello, I'm Joel Jackson, and welcome to today's edition of the Blue Meatball. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about tax policy. As you know, income tax is new to America, relatively new to the history of our country. It was only started with the 16th Amendment in 1909, I believe. Our founders never intended us to be taxed on our income because that would hamper the free market economy. Because, see, a tax is like a penalty on the activity you do. The more you tax somebody for being more productive, the less they're inspired to do. I remember a job where I could work all the overtime I wanted, but I was in charge of the payroll. So I knew exactly when I had to quit working or I would go into a higher tax bracket, and those additional hours would actually net me less income. You ever have that happen to you? You think, wow, I got 10 hours overtime this week. I'm going to have a huge paycheck. And you end up getting $5 less than if you'd have worked 9 hours overtime. Very frustrating. Makes you say, well, what's the point? So, the problem with taxes is the current government, including Republicans, many Republicans believe that if taxes go down, they lose income. Taxes are not income to the government. That is our money that they are taking from us. And you say, well, if we just raise taxes, we can fix the deficit and fix all the problems with our social programs. No, you can't. Because every dollar you give the government, they spend, and more. The more money you give them, the more money they spend. If they can't be trusted with what they get now, what makes you think they can be trusted with more? It's insane thinking. If your child asks you for a couple of quarters to get one of those bouncy balls or a gumball out of the machine outside the restaurant door or at the supermarket or at Walmart or wherever you are, what are you going to do? Are you going to give them 50 cents or are you going to give them a roll of quarters? Because I know my kids well. If I give them a roll of quarters, they're going to come back with their shirt turned into a basket holding a whole basket full of bouncy balls and gumballs. They will spend every quarter you give them. The government is no different. What makes it worse is they borrow on top of those tax dollars. As Margaret Thatcher once said, the problem, or was it Winston Churchill that said the problem, I believe it was Margaret Thatcher said, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. If we took every penny that the top 1 to 5% of this country made, took it all, we could only finance the government for a few days, a month at the most. So that's pointless. The way to fix the problem is to cut spending. And you have to be willing to sacrifice everywhere. Everybody has their pet government program that they don't want cut. Well, we're all going to have to tighten our belts. Because the current national debt, the budget deficits are hurting our economy, making us less financially secure, which makes us less able to defend ourselves around the world. Now, we need real tax reform where everybody is taxed equally. This is America. We're not in a caste system. There are no untouchables here. There's no lords and ladies and peasants. We all have an equal chance to get ahead in the world if given that chance. And the more taxes, the more government regulation, the harder it is to maneuver within our economy and the harder it is to succeed. Capitalism, in its true form, has not existed in the United States in at least a century. Since the progressives started taking over, passing their constitutional amendments, taxing us higher, giving us more welfare programs, and by welfare programs, I don't mean welfare, I mean farm subsidies, Medicare, Social Security, all those things. Our taxes have gone steadily up, and our deficits have gotten worse and worse, and our economy's gotten harder and harder to succeed in. Now, people say capitalism doesn't work, but the problem is we don't practice capitalism here. We practice socialism mixed with crony capitalism in the United States. The ultimate book on free market capitalism was written by Adam Smith in the 1700s. Now, back then, when he described corporations in The Wealth of Nations, the king had to give a charter to a corporation, and the king could directly oversee that corporation. And in that charter, they had one specific purpose. They had a set amount of investors, and they had a set amount of time they could operate. For instance, like the Jamestown colony would have been incorporated and approved by the king, their purpose being to buy ships, buy supplies, move the colonists to the United States, and have them settle within X amount of years, 3 to 5 years, whatever it was. But starting with the progressives, and then Richard Nixon made it even worse, we turned corporations into individuals, people. People like Neil Cavuto and Mitt Romney say that corporations are people. Well, they aren't, because they don't have a vote, they don't have a soul, and they don't have a conscience. Corporations are controlled by people, yes, but that doesn't make them a person. Because the people running a corporation today have no incentive down the road to be moral or ethical or profitable, because what they want is they want their golden parachute today. They want profits today. You go back to the mom and pop businesses, the family corporations, where we're constantly worried, well, what are my grandkids going to inherit? Now that's a corporation that has ethics and concerns, cares about people. Now, I'm not against all big corporations. We all know places like Walmart make our lives easier because things are a little cheaper. But today's corporations have too much power. They're a going concern. They never end. They can get as big as they want. They can go into anything they want. They have so much money. They answer to nobody. And they peddle influence with the K Street lawyers up in Washington, D.C. It's no longer one person, one vote. It's how much money can you give to the politicians you have in your pocket to get laws in favor of your business. People like me who refuse to take farm subsidies because they don't believe in corporate farming and won't bow down to the system, just try to get along and be left alone, we cannot flourish in the United States. Those times are gone. Major tax reform and regulatory reform is needed. Tort reform is needed. We need to go back to a true free market capitalism. And you say, well, what about the little guy? They'll never get ahead. Well, they will if they work hard, get a good education. You say, well, not all of us are blessed with being able to get an education or get a loan from a family member to start a business. You don't need money to start a business. Nowadays, all you need is a computer and a desire to succeed. And you can start out your business incrementally. Buy supplies as you can afford them. That's how I got into the cattle business, is I bought cows as I could afford them. But people don't believe in America anymore. For too long, we've had people in power that have taxed us, spent too much, and talked down about us. But I'm here to tell you, America's the best country in the world. And if we work hard together, vote the right kind of people into office who don't listen to the lobbyists, but instead listen to you and me, the average voter. Get back to capitalism, reform taxes, get rid of some of the government red tape and regulations, and let this country thrive again. We can take off. We can be great again. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.